Fanatics. What is going on? Happy Sunday to everybody. Another episode of Buffalo Fanatics TV. It's me, it's DM3. Flying solo tonight, but it's all good. We're going to crank it out. A lot of news to talk about. We're going to get into it. I got a jam-packed show. A lot to talk about. First things first, let's handle a little business. If you guys want to advertise live right here on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on Buffalo Fanatics TV, just hit us up in our Gmail. It's buffalofanatics@gmail.com, and we'll hit you back. We'll try to work some things out, and we'll kind of go from there. Again, always welcome to get suggestions or pointers or any of that stuff from you guys. So buffalofanatics@gmail.com. So with that being said, Thursday, everybody was minding their own business, probably, either in bed, about to go to bed, maybe working, just living your life. And then all of a sudden, the news comes out, the Buffalo Bills have traded for Antonio Brown. And I don't know about you guys, but I was like, holy shit, no way. There is no way this can't be happening. And as things progressed a little bit by a little bit, everybody's looking at Twitter, everybody's on Instagram, everybody's here, there, looking at NFL Network, watching ESPN, looking for something that to solidify, the Antonio Brown trade, because I, for one, didn't really think that the Bills would be a major player in this. The Bills hadn't been mentioned at all. The Jets were in there, the Raiders were in there, some other teams were mentioned. The Bills weren't one of the teams that was mentioned. So when that news broke, I was ecstatic. Say what you want about the player himself. Say what you want about what you've seen from his antics with, Ben Roethlisberger, the issues with the owner, the issues with the coaching staff. Antonio Brown is the best wide receiver in the NFL. So he's now a Buffalo Bill. Everything is great. So, of course, I do what I do. I'm the Facebook operator for Buffalo Fanatics. So I go and I post something on Facebook. Then, about 10 minutes later, all these tweets start coming out from, all these other media guys. This is not happening. The Bills had reached out, but it's not a done deal. Ian Rappaport's still saying, he's tweeting out too, still saying it's a done deal. It's over. It's done. Done deal. The Bills, apparently, the deal was that they had swapped picks. The Bills were going to trade the 9th pick in the first round to the Steelers for their 20th pick, and then there was some other compensation that was never really justified. But so that's happening. So more and more things start to come out, and the deal looks like it's falling apart, right? So if you're like me, I'm thinking only the Bills would this happen to, where we would trade out of nowhere for arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL, only to have it fall apart. Now, with that being said, I went to bed about 2 in, woke up Friday, sure enough, everybody's reported, the Brandon Beane sent out a memo saying that we reached out on Wednesday, we had decent dialogue, but then it didn't go anywhere. We're focused on free agency. So then you think to yourself, well, shit, what happened? Again, the thoughts, only to Buffalo fans, only to Bills fans would this happen, where you have it right here in the palm of your hand, you're instantly that much better, then all of a sudden, nope, sorry, not happening. So that happened. So now more things are coming out as the weekend has progressed. Friday bled into Saturday, bled into today. So now all the things are coming out. Initially, the reports were that AB didn't want to come to Buffalo. AB said, nah, I'm good. I don't want to play there. I'm just not for it. And then that was a report that Brandon Beane was like, all right, he's not going to report. We're out. And then you got reports coming out that AB never said that. It was never justified that he said that. And so now things are getting skewed. Drew Rosenhaus came out today and said, we had some decent conversations with the Bills on Wednesday. We were in an okay place heading into Thursday, but then talks cooled off. We couldn't agree on a deal. So that leads me to believe, was it Antonio Brown versus Buffalo, or was it Pittsburgh versus Buffalo? Because you see what the Raiders got Antonio Brown for. A 3rd and a 5th round pick. Absolute steal. Now, granted, they paid him. He's getting a lot of guaranteed money. He's getting $54 million, which we don't know if that was ever offered from the Bills, if that was ever in the talks, if the Bills and Drew Rosenhaus said, hey, we're not gonna up the salary. We don't know that. All we know is that talks were squashed, and he's now with the Oakland/Los Angeles/Las Vegas, wherever they're going to play Raiders. So that's neither here nor there. So tell me what you guys think. I know this has probably been beat to death in social media. It's probably been all over Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Everybody's been talking about it. I just hadn't had a chance to come on here and kind of give you guys my thoughts on it. I'm going to take some comments. Let me know what you guys think. You guys think that it was just they didn't work the deal out? Let me know if you guys think that it was, it was a good move for Bean, if it was a bad move for Bean. Let me take some comments here, and we'll see. Heads up, 69 of you guys in here. I really appreciate it. Sunday night, I know it's late. It's after 9:30 on the East Coast. I do appreciate you guys supporting me out here. So let's see. James Edwards, shout out to you. AB trash Buffalo, didn't want to come. AB said fake news. He did say fake news, but that's because the trade hadn't happened yet, according to him. So Myron Glenn says it's all good. We're building the championship team. Everything happens for a reason. Run DMK13. We're better off without him. So that's an interesting thought. And then Chuck Woodward says AB equals locker room drama. So I'm glad that Chuck, you brought that up, because that's another little thing I want to talk about with AB is, do we really know the whole story? Do we really know that AB said, pump the brakes, Brandon Bean and the Buffalo Bills? I'm not coming there. I don't have to agree to this. If you trade for me, I'm not going to show up. That has never been justified in any way, shape, or form. It hasn't been justified. It hasn't been from Antonio Brown. It hasn't come from the Steelers. It hasn't come from Drew Rosenhaus. It hasn't come from Brandon Bean or anybody on the Bills side. So we don't know if that happened. We're assuming that that's what Antonio Brown said because of his actions, in the weeks leading up to it. Now, people are going to have their opinions. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. I personally don't think that was the case. I personally think that they just couldn't work out a deal. Now, I'm not going to say that maybe Brandon Bean was a little stingy on what he was willing to give up to get Antonio Brown, because we don't know. We just know that the Bills made an offer and the Steelers didn't accept the offer. That's it. So we don't know really what side said it wasn't a fair offer, going back and forth. Obviously, it got railroaded when the reports came out that it was a done deal. And so everybody had to backtrack and figure things out. So I'll take a couple more comments. Thank you guys. 63 of you guys in here. I appreciate the love. Every Sunday night, I'll be here. I'll have some guest hosts on here. Buffalo Fanatics TV every Sunday night. I'm going to be doing some more spots during the week too. So free agency's popping off. We're going to get into that in a minute. Thomas Carson. How's it going? Hey, what's up, Thomas? If you guys haven't seen any of Thomas's videos, another guy, the Elite Fanatic on Instagram, he also puts videos on here on the YouTube channel. James Edwards says, put the money in the O-line, run DMK O-line. All right, so you guys are leading me into my next segue. So on Twitter this morning, early this morning, for me, for you guys on the East Coast, wasn't too early, but this morning, I wanted to get a fan's perspective. I wanted Buffalo Fanatics to tell me what they thought about Brandon Bean with a quick poll. So I just simply asked, are you guys confident that Brandon Bean is going to bring in star caliber players in free agency this week? Because all the stars are going to go this week. We're going to get the bargain binners, 3 or 4 weeks down the road. So as you can see on the graphic there, 75% said yes. And that's over 1,300 people. So 75% that chose to, join in on the poll think that Brandon Beane is going to get the job done in free agency. Now, to caveat that, shooting for Antonio Brown was a big deal. To me, it was a big deal. I didn't think that personally he was going to even put a feeler out there. I thought McDermott's got a certain culture he's trying to live up to. We've all heard the culture, the process, all these, as Pierre likes to call them, buzzwords, which they are, all these buzzwords being thrown out there. Why all of a sudden has Brandon Beane tried to go after a guy who people think is a locker room cancer or he's a diva? And then I had to think about it for a minute. But then it was like easy. It's easy. Brandon Beane is trying to win. Sean McDermott should be able to coach his players, and this locker room stuff shouldn't be an issue, period. So if you're going to go and try to trade for an Antonio Brown, which Brandon Beane did, kudos to him. My hat's off to him, because that shows the fans that he's trying to get players in here with winning mentality that are dynamic players that can play now. Drafting players is different. Drafting players is always a down the road what if. You might get what's expected of draft players. You might not. But if you get a solid perennial all-pro wide receiver who had 15 touchdowns last year in 15 games, that's going to help you win games. That's going to help your culture in your locker room, because all about the culture talk, winning cures all that. So what's your guys' takes on that? I'll dip into a little bit more on Brandon Beane. What's your guys' takes on if you guys think that Brandon Beane, if you're confident that Brandon Beane's going to get the job done? Buffalo fan says he will try, but players will not want to come here. That's a take. Lawrence Riley says let's get AJ Green. Not a bad take, not a bad spin. Dwayne Gordon, I have no confidence in Beane. All right, that's a little bit different. Kevin Michalek says me neither. So there's two for no confidence in Beane. James Edwards, 1989 bickering Bills had plenty of divas. That's a really good point. The Bills, late 80s, early 90s were known as the bickering Bills, but they won. So it wasn't ever really a big deal. Also, too, that was before the era of social media. So we didn't see all that stuff. We weren't privy to all that. It was all hearsay at that point. News reports and things like that. So Kevin Snyder, go after DK Metcalf. I'm not going to touch on the draft. I mean, I could comment on it at the end because free agency is less than 72 hours away, and we should start getting some news tomorrow because tomorrow is the time when you can actually offer players contracts. You can tender players contracts. You can't actually sign them until Wednesday. So shout out to David Tarr, 99-cent donation. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for the support. Really love that. So let's talk more about Brandon Beane, because we have a group chat on Facebook, all of our buddies. I'm sure you guys know Rico, Kingpin's on there, some other guys. And we talked about the aftermath of the Antonio Brown trade debacle. All right, guys, sorry about that. We got a little bit of technical difficulties. Good comment by Spaz Network. He always has potato internet. It's not me, man. It's not me. I promise it's not me. I don't have a potato. I got a hamster in a wheel. He must have been taking a break or something. But we're back. So where was I? Oh yeah. So is Brandon Beane going to pay? That's the question, right? Is Brandon Beane going to shell out the dough to get these guys to come here? Now, yes, I think he's going to have to, but I also think that there's camaraderie in this league, that there are players on this team that talk to each other. There's players in Buffalo that have played on other teams, like Micah Hyde, who's played in Green Bay, the Jordan Poyers, who's played in Cleveland, LaShawn McCoy, who played for the Eagles. There's players that have played with other players, went to college with other players, and they talk. They're all on social media. I'm sure that they're, a lot of them are friends back from their college days. But if he has to overpay, so what? If that locks down some of the top free agents, so what? Structure the contracts. Beane's a smart man. Make sure that we don't put ourselves in trouble in 2 or 3 years from now, and we're good to go. That's not a big deal. Are we going to get all of them? No. But I want to see that we are actually making contact with some of these guys. The best offensive lineman, the best center, the best wide receiver. And another thing to think about, too, is just because we don't land one of the best free agents in a specific position, Beane has already shown that he's willing to make trades. That may be something that he also tries to do this week. There's going to be a ton of players traded this week. Besides free agency, there's always a ton of players traded. It happened last year. The Rams went nuts and traded for players the week that the league year opened. So that's something to think about, because when you make trades for players that are on contract, you can restructure contracts, and it doesn't really give you that big of a salary cap hit this year. So think about that too. That's something that a lot of people haven't been talking about. I'm going to take some more of your comments. Hopefully our technical difficulties are behind us. Joe Torres, hope we stay away from New England's tight end. He already signed with the Dolphins, so we're good. Dwayne Gordon, wasting money. He's holding McDermott back. Get the man some real talent. That's this week. We're going to find out. And I don't think he's holding McDermott back. I think that he was working with what he had. He didn't have a lot of salary cap last year. Now, you can speculate whose fault that was. I'm not going to speculate on that, but he brought in some bargain bin guys last year. They came off the playoff run, so we knew it was going to be a down year. They went all in to draft Josh Allen. So, I think this year he has to fork over the money, because you got rid of Marcel Darius. You knew you were going to get a dead cap hit, last year. You got rid of Cordy Glenn. You knew you were going to get a cap hit last year in dead cap, but you knew that in 2019 it was going to be all free and clear. You knew that in 2019 you guys were going to have 80 to 100 million based off of whatever was signed in between. So he has to spend. He has to spend. Marshall Parker, just give me a dominant line in free agency. I agree with that. BIS25, like that trade Jets made for Osemele. Beane was asleep at the wheel on that one. I mean, we don't know. We don't know if Beane's got something else that he's working on, because one thing that also was confusing about the Pittsburgh trade with Antonio Brown is the Bills don't usually leak things. Brandon Beane, the last 2 years, hasn't leaked a lot of information as far as roster signings or trades. So we're not going to know until it happens. We're not going to know until we get an alert on our phone that the Bills have signed this person and the Bills have traded for that person. We just won't know. So it's going to be speculation right at this point. Dillinger E says, need to get rid of McCoy. Interesting you say that, because, I brought it up a couple weeks ago and I got kind of hammered by Pierre about it, but that's all right. I can take my lumps. But you saw the report about Frank Clark, right? And, he hasn't yet signed his franchise tag with the Seahawks. And why you would trade for a $17 million player is crazy. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. What if it's a player and pick for player swap? So you're not just taking on $17 million. You're swapping a salary for a salary, and you're throwing in draft capital. So that's also something to think about. If you start seeing rumors that someone's looking to be traded for, as far as like a D Ford or a Frank Clark, who's, if he signs his franchise tag, is scheduled to make $17 million, there may be players involved. I mean, Bean shocked the world and traded Sammy Watkins and Ronald Darby. Nobody knew that was coming. And all of a sudden, we woke up the next morning and there was the alerts on our phone. I thought it was a joke. I thought that the Bills had gotten hacked. The Bills' Twitter account or whatever got hacked. So we won't know until it happens. I'll take some more comments. 49, you guys, thank you for sticking around. Sorry about the technical difficulties. As Spaz Network says, I have a potato internet. I don't know, maybe that's the case. My hamster's back at it, so we're gonna crank this out. Let's see. The GOAT. I like your name. Brandon Bean, better not sleep tomorrow. Better not get no sleep tomorrow. Well, hopefully he's burning that midnight oil right now as we speak. He's getting ready. It's almost 10 o'clock there. He's probably hopefully somewhere with a cell phone, a laptop, an iPad, all that stuff. So hopefully he's getting that going. Marshall Parker, I think Josh Allen would benefit greatly with an elite tight end. Maybe trade for a tight end. You know, that's interesting. I talked about it last week when me and Pierre played our little game, our free agency game. There's going to be, tight ends available in free agency. There's going to be tight ends, I'm sure, that are going to become available in the trade market. Reports are coming out that Vikings right now are miles apart from a contract extension with Kyle Rudolph, and he's not happy about it. So things like that are going to happen all week. You're going to start seeing it, something's going to come up. This person's not happy. This person's not happy. They're rumored to be traded to this team, and then either they're going to get traded or they're going to get re-signed with their team. It's going to be all week. All the rest of this week it's going to happen. This is like Christmas if you guys love free agency, because this week, right now, this week should shape our season right now. Are we going to be contenders or are we going to be pretenders? Are we going to add talent that is going to win games now? That's what's going to happen this week. You'll be able to tell by the end of the week if the Bills are in it to win it. I don't want to sound corny and cliche. I don't want to throw all these stupid catchphrases out there, but that's it. Are they going to be in it to win it? Or are they just going to lay back, be judicious, and just kind of throw a few bucks at this guy and throw a few bucks at that guy? Meanwhile, they're all getting swooped up by other teams. So I'm going to take a couple more comments, and then I'm going to jump into my next topic. We're going to talk about free agency for the rest of the show. So I love the interaction. 53 you guys in here still. I know it's getting late on the East Coast. Big shout out to you guys. Appreciate the support. I know you guys may not know if you're new to or if you're a subscriber to the YouTube channel and you guys haven't caught a Buffalo Fanatics TV episode yet. I'm DM3. I am the Facebook operator for Buffalo Fanatics. I'm going to be here every Sunday. You're probably going to see a lot of me this week popping up everywhere because of free agency popping off. So as soon as things are available and as soon as I have time to come to you, I'm gonna jump on here. I'm sure Rico's going to jump on here. I'm going to try to get Pierre to get on here with me, and we're going to make it happen. So Nicholas Harrigan, just get Max from Baltimore for cheap, and we still have Kroom. That wouldn't be a bad deal. Both guys are athletic, so I do like Jason Kroom a lot. I do think Jason Kroom, being a former wide receiver, is extremely athletic. Maybe needs to put on a little bit of weight, a little bit of muscle mass so he can work better in the run blocking game, what we're absolutely going to miss this year without Charles Clay. But Max Williams, I also like Jesse James. I was on the Jared Cook bandwagon, but I think that he was a product of just not a really good offensive team in Oakland, and he was a safety blanket. Still, kudos for him. He had a good season, but I think he was a safety blanket for Derek Carr after they traded Amari Cooper. Spaz Network says Clay signed with the Cards. Thank you. We know that. Austin Mason says, to be honest, getting Brown would ruin our cap space for guys like Trey White, Allen, and more. That's a really good thought. Malik Bendolph, shout out to you, man. $10 donation. I appreciate the love and continued support. I know I've seen you in here before. I know I've seen your comments in here before, so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Malik says, the Brandon Bean show is set to begin tomorrow. I'm hoping for a center, right tackle, and maybe a tight end leading into the draft. Enjoy the ride, guys. I'm hoping. I am hoping. Me and Pierre were talking before the show, and I'm going to be a tired guy because I'm going to start losing sleep probably tonight. I'm already thinking about free agency. I'm already thinking about who we're going to get, from this team, that team, who my brain's already scattered all over the place. Sean Munley says, Evan Ingram from McCoy would be outrageous. That would be outrageous. You talk about McCoy from Tampa? Is that what we're talking about? 24 forget AB. This proves McBean is down for the cause, not building a Buffalo choir. I like that. I like that a lot. Nicholas Harrion, I'm hoping for Jordan Howard, downhill runner, in what Dable wants. Yeah, not bad. So that being said, I'll kind of sign off on Brandon Beane, and then I'll talk more about, position. We'll go a little bit by positions and who I kind of like and who I think our number one target should be in a few different positions. I think Brandon Beane is extremely smart. I think Brandon Beane thinks ahead. I'm not going to say he's ahead of the curve. I do think that Brandon Beane has a plan. And I hope that his plan is going to come to fruition. I hope that everything that he's working on is going to work out for him, because at the end of the day, we want him to succeed. We don't want to have to go through a miserable offseason, a miserable season, and then thinking we need a new general manager, right? We want Brandon Beane to succeed. We want Sean McDermott to succeed. So with all that being said, if you guys have any more comments, if you guys think that I'm, spitting the truth, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video. If you guys haven't subscribed to the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel, if it's your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 6,000 as soon as possible. And I didn't even tell Pierre this, but if we get to 6,000, when we get to 6,000, I'm going to raffle off something that I'm not even going to tell you guys what it is, but it is memorabilia that is 25 years old, and you guys are going to love it. I'm going to give it away once we hit 6,000. I'm going to come on here, and we're going to have a little raffle. I'm going to give it away just for you guys subscribing to the channel. So stay tuned for that, because we should hit 6,000 here pretty soon. Let's see. We got Jameson Ryan 2204. They will win the Super Bowl. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah, Rudd MK13. Dude, I'm sorry I butchered your name. He said, Justin Houston, please. That's funny, because the Chiefs just released Justin Houston. So before I was going on here, I got a list you guys will see later of one of my positions, and that he might move up into my list, because he didn't have that solid of a year compared to his previous years, but he is extremely intriguing. Now, he was scheduled to make $15 million this year, so he's probably going to look for like 8 to 10 to 12 in that range, which we have. We do have a couple studs at linebacker, but you can never have enough depth, you can never have enough veterans, and you can never have enough locker room leadership that comes with all that. He's been there, he's been to a Pro Bowl, he's a beast, and I think he would fit well on the team. So, moving forward, everybody knows about our offensive line woes, right? Everybody knows we need to guard. We need a guard, we need a center, we need a tackle, we need this, we need to protect Josh Allen. He is the franchise. We've deemed him the franchise. We spent basically a year and a half trying to get him, trading away players, moving around draft capital, moving up the board. Number 9, we got him. So now the time is to protect Josh Allen. Everybody knows that. That was our biggest downfall last year. It's probably part of the reason why that we didn't have a great running game from Shady. Josh Allen leading us in rushing. We can't have that again. So the biggest need that we need, the biggest one we need is center. And I'll tell you why. The center is the anchor of the offensive line. The center can call out defensive schemes. The center touches the ball on every single play, right? Everybody knows who the two top dogs are, right? Everybody knows that it's Paradis and Morse, right? Everybody knows that those are the two top dogs. So if we don't get one, we have to get the other one. If we don't get Paradis,
we need to get Morse. If we don't get Morse, we need to get Paradis. Not saying that there's other serviceable free agent centers out there, but these are the guys. If you're going to put a stamp on free agency, you go and you get one of these guys, right? Because the last thing you want to do is head into a 2 and 3 day, shoving match with another team, and you're losing focus on the other offensive linemen that are getting swooped up because you're in a shoving match for one of these guys. Knock this out of the park, make it happen as soon as possible, pick up the phone, make it happen, get it done, period. And then game on. Let me know what you guys think about that. Like I said, I'm sure there's other serviceable centers that we could get. These are the top 2 that are available via free agency. Again, if they get swooped up, maybe we can make a trade. But who wants maybes? I want for sures. I want guarantees. I'm going to take some comments. Let me know what you guys think. Let's see. Jameson Ryan, the center on the Ravens is decent. The worst case scenario might be an all right signing. Brendan Quinolana, T. Brown, Trent Brown, Morse, James, Williams, Houston. All right, so you're getting ahead of me already, so I'm going to get to all that stuff. Joe Torres says need to release that defensive end opposite of Hughes. I don't know if you're talking about Shaq Lawson or Trent Murphy. We could talk about that at the end because that's a good point. I don't want to get too derailed. But yeah, Shaq Lawson has to prove something. I think he's got to prove something this year, and I think Trent Murphy may be on the roster bubble. Maybe. If rumors are the Bills are trying to talk to Frank Clark, things have come out saying that wasn't, the Bills aren't trying to trade for him now. But it hit the airwaves, right? It was on social media, so something came out. If it was from the Seahawks camp or the Bills. But you can always upgrade. Shaq Lawson came on at the end of last year, but to me, he's still unproven. I still think he's got a ways to go. He needs to hit the weight room. I think he needs to work on his, he's got one move. It's a bull rush. He needs to work on his finesse moves. He needs to work better with his hands. So getting back to kind of what I was talking about. So I talked about center, Paradis and Morse. Make it happen. Put your stamp on free agency right away. Make that happen. Get the center, get the anchor. Make it happen, Bean. If you have to overpay. Next, offensive line. In no particular position, any offensive lineman that's an upgrade is an upgrade, right? Any of these top guys that are out there, you have the Trent Browns, the Juwan James, the Darrell Williams, the Roger Saffolds, the list goes on and on. Trent Brown, that's the number 1 offensive lineman that I would go after. That is the number 1 guy that I would target and say, look, you are in a Super Bowl. You stepped up your game when we needed it as Patriots. He played in the playoff game. He stepped up his game. How many times did you guys see Tom Brady getting sacked in the Super Bowl? Barely ever, right? So the guy's a 400-pound lineman. The guy's a beast. And put him at left tackle to protect Josh Allen's blind side. Perfect, right? And then these other guys, you can go back and forth, with who's better between Darrell Williams, Juwan James. One's a Pro Bowler, one's an All-Pro. The Roger Saffolds. The list goes on. But you need to get 2 of these guys, I think. 2 of the top dogs you need to get. Definitely you need to I believe Trent Brown. I think you need to get that guy. You need to solidify your blind side, and then you guys can get the other ones. There's been reports, obviously, about Darrell Williams because he played for the Panthers. We all know about the Carolina connection. Tell me what you guys think. I mean, Trent Brown, a lot of people say he's unproven. The 49ers traded him away, to the Patriots before last season started. He was kind of a cast-off from the 49ers. Came, played at a high rate, in the playoffs, which is what you need. He comes from a winning culture in New England. He played up to and above his potential in the Super Bowl, and I think that's what we need. More guys that have been there, done that, the better, right? Hey, guess what? I was in the Super Bowl last year, or I was in the NFC Championship game last year, or I made the playoffs the last 5 years. We want that in the locker room. That's what we want. That's going to help build a winning culture. So let me take some more comments. Let me know what you guys think. Run DMK says, Fitz, All right. Joe Torres talking about Trent Murphy says he ran out of gas. I mean, roids. That's a good point. Was he that good because of the steroids? Because he got busted for the PDs the next year after he had the 9.5 sack season with the Skins, and then didn't really do much after that. And then he was injured last year. He had 4 sacks, but he was part of the rotation. Let's see. Buffalo fan, Darrell Williams over Trent Brown. That's an interesting take. Again, Trent Brown for me, that's just, he's a mountain of a man. He's a large protector of the blind side to me. Not saying that we can't sign both, right? Why not? Go get them both. Open the wall and go get them both. Shane Munley says, Shane Ray, low-level trade bait. Shane Ray, if I'm not right, is either going to be released or they want to trade him. So, or he has been released. I'll have to check on that, so that's my bet on that. If you guys know, drop it in the comments, and then I'll make sure if you guys can verify either one of those. CR says Bean is going to get busy. We can all hope for that. Jose Torres again. Darrell Williams is way better. And then, yeah, another one for Darrell Williams. Nicholas Harrion says Darrell Williams is way better. So you guys are feeling the offensive line. I think everybody that's a Bills fan is feeling, the offensive line is definitely where we need to take off. I wouldn't be mad if we spent a ton of our cap money, not all of it, but a ton of it on the offensive line. And as we talked about last week here on the show, I don't think that anybody's job should be secure. Not after last season. I don't think that Deion Dawkins or Wyatt Teller or Russell Bodine or Ryan Roy or Jordan Mills, any of these guys should be locks to make this roster as starters. Okay? I feel like you can always upgrade with guys that are proven. Now, everybody's going to want to talk about taking somebody in the draft. I get that. But the draft is always a crapshoot for 2 reasons. You're picking at 9. What if the guys you want are gone? What if the offensive line that everybody wants is gone? Then what do? You have to figure out, and what's the backup plan? That's why you address it now. Address it this week, get it out of the way, and then if you can fill in some depth with the draft, then go ahead and do that. Because I believe that's where Wyatt Teller was drafted. I don't believe Wyatt Teller was drafted to be a starter. Deion Dawkins maybe. But Wyatt Teller, I believe, was drafted to be competition. I don't think he was drafted to be the, everybody says he's a plug-and-play guy, but he took, 10 weeks to get active? And then when he was active, he was solid maybe 1-2 games. Not saying he doesn't have potential, because I think he does. I do think he has potential. But get the guys that are proven. Get the guys that are Pro Bowlers. Guys that have already won. Get the guys that when you're lining up on Sundays, you already know what they can do because they've already done it, instead of what ifs and hopefuls. And drafting should always be to fill for depth for guys that can potentially be starters. Unless you're picking 1 through 5, those guys should be starters. If you're picking 9 through the rest or whatever, those guys should be able to come in, prove it, and earn it, right? All right, so moving on. Another position everybody knows that we're going to need. By the way, if you guys think that I'm speaking the truth, if you guys think I'm talking out of my ass, let me know in the comments. I'm going to check them out. I'll read as many as I can. I appreciate the interaction, show support for everybody joining me late here on a Sunday night. I know we had some technical difficulties earlier. Looks like we got them hashed out now. Sorry if I'm a bit choppy. It's that damn squirrel running in the cage. He gets tired, and sometimes the internet connection kind of goes. But all right, so the next one we're going to talk about, obvious wide receiver. Now, Bean basically told everybody that we're not good enough at that position, right? Bean basically said we need an upgrade, and he almost went and got the best upgrade available. You know how when you go into get a new cell phone, and then you're looking at some and you're like, well, I don't know, that one there, I can afford that one. I can afford that one. That one's way out of my price range. I'm not even going to look at that one. That's too much. That's like the new Samsung 10, S10. It's like $1,000. I can't pay for that. And then all of a sudden you're like, nah, fuck it. I'm going to get it, right? Let me just get it. I'm going to get it. Why not? I need the best phone possible. I'll have the best service. I can put as many apps on it as I want. It'll be, faster. It's got this memory on it. That's basically what Brandon Beane just said to the NFL. We're not good at wide receiver. We're not where we want to be. I want Antonio Brown. I want the best upgrade possible. And he came close to getting him, right? So you have to think that this week we are going to either land a free agent wide receiver that's a big name, or we're going to make a trade for one. And I don't care how he does it. I don't care if it's Golden Tate. I don't care if it's John Brown. Get somebody that improves this wide receiver room. If you got to make a trade for somebody that's on an active roster, make a trade for somebody that's on an active roster. That's fine. That's fine. But he's already shown that he's willing to address the offense in the skill positions, and he's already been there and done that. We moving on free agency. Fine. When I get Antonio Brown next, and hopefully next, besides center, offensive line is wide receiver, because we need one in the worst way. Not saying that Zay Jones, Robert Foster, and Isaiah McKenzie weren't decent last year in the roles that they played, but that's not going to win championships. I'm sorry. I hate to cut it to everybody. They're all what-ifs. They're all what-ifs. Robert Foster came on at the end of the year and was really good. Dynamic in the long ball. Zay Jones seemed like he was a solid reception receiver as far as get me 10, 15 yards, I need it. And Isaiah McKenzie, kind of like a Swiss Army knife, jet sweeps, punt returns, decent receiver. But those guys aren't number one receivers. I'm sorry. They're not proven number one receivers, which is what we need. That's why he went to get Antonio Brown. Let me know what you guys think about the wide receiver front. I'll take some comments. Mike R says trade for Julio. Now look, Julio Brown last year was not happy with his contract, right? We all remember that, right? He was going to hold out. He was going to pull a Le'Veon Bell and not play all season unless they gave him a new deal. So the Falcons caved. They gave him a new deal. How they worked it was they pushed some of his money towards 2019 this year. So that being said, if the Falcons want to be big players this year in free agency, they don't have a ton of cap room. So that's one possibility. I see also James Edwards says A.J. Green, possibly. I mean, he's been rumored to be shopped like 3 years in a row, the Bengals, which is crazy because A.J. Green, when healthy, is top 5, top 3 in the league, I think, personally. Jay says, your name is just Jay, says, y'all ever heard Cordell Patterson? Yeah, from the Patriots. Nice, but I think he's more of a, what is he, that kind of wide receiver? Because they use him a lot at running back. He's good on returns, which the Bills do need a new return guy, I think, unless McKenzie comes back and he can control his fumbling issues. We still have Ray. That's probably going to be only his forte this year. I don't see him getting too many reps at receiver. And then Dillinger E says A.J. Green, injury prone. He's already like Sammy Watkins. We already had Sammy Watkins. That's not very fair. I mean, Sammy Watkins was only here 3 years. A.J. Green's been in the league a lot longer than that. Let's see. Yeah. BISP25 says, get that squirrel some PEDs. No, I wish I could, man. I wish I could get him some PEDs. Evan Richter brings up that's a really good comment. He says, I'm scared of Patriots players. That's a good point. Because I had this discussion about Trent Brown with other people, and other people are saying, well, it's the Patriot system that made him as good as he was. Well, really? I mean, we've had Patriots players go to other teams and they're not as good as they are. But if you watch Trent Brown, Trent Brown played really good in the Super Bowl. He played really good in the AFC Championship game. I thought he was really good with the 49ers, to be honest with you. They do have a system of winning, but he's experienced, right? He's proven time and again. When was the last time you seen a blindside sack on Tom Brady? I mean, I'm not going to go nitpick and find games and pull out clips, but it's not very often. And like I said, he's been there and he's done that. You know, he's one of the highest graded tackles on PFF. He's very versatile. He can move positions. He's played other positions. So that's what's got me on him, is that he's versatile. He can play left tackle. You can move him to a guard position if you need to. He's versatile, right? And the blind side is where Josh Allen got completely dismantled last season. You know, Deion Dawkins at left tackle is not going to work. I'm sorry, it's just not. Deion Dawkins, blindside left tackle is not going to work. To me, Deion Dawkins is a guard, but that's another topic for another day. So let's see. Let's go back to the comments about the wide receivers. James Edwards, 4th and 5th round picks plus Shaq for AJ. Man, you guys are quick to get rid of Shaq Lawson. Woo! Mike R., just don't overpay for a guy so they can draft a defensive player. What do you mean by that? Just don't overpay for a guy so they can draft. Well, I mean, if you overpay and you get 2 solid starters on offensive line, I'm okay at number 9 taking an Ed Oliver if he's there. You know, what if one of these? It's a very deep defensive draft this year. The draft class this year is crazy. So I don't think it would be that bad of an idea to draft. If we've addressed offensive line in free agency, yes. Defense would be fine. But if we haven't, then yes, we need to figure out who to draft at 9 offensive line, bar none. Proud Canadian, says, no wide receiver in free agency, also overpriced and not productive. I think the market's going to be high dollar-wise for wide receiver no matter what every year, because it's a skill position player and the price is just going up continuously. We saw Sammy Watkins get that huge deal last year. But the Bills have the money. You know, next year we're going to have 120 mil. So you got the money. You did all the work. Spend it. You did all the work to get rid of the dead cap and, you know, spend the money, right? Just do it wisely. You know, get the guys that you want that are solid and do it wisely. All right. I got one position left. Offensively, I think with center, offensive lineman, wide receiver, those are the top 3 needs. And then I want to talk about linebacker. Not a lot of people think that we need to address a lot on defense. So let's look at our defense. Number 2 overall, which was heavy weight upon because of the pass defense. Okay, number 1 by a mile, pass defense. Where we suffered is run defense, right? So our defense does need some work. Our defense was very solid. Number 2 overall, our defense was solid. Don't get me wrong, our defense was solid and it was a great building block going forward. We got the studs in Milano, in Edmonds, and Poyer, and Hyde, and Trey White, and Teron Johnson, and Levi Wallace. But linebackers can change the dynamic of a defense, especially a Sean McDermott defense. Now, a lot of people like to compare Milano and Edmonds to Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly from the Panthers when McDermott was the D coordinator. I'm not completely opposed to the Bills moving Tremaine Edmonds outside. I'm not completely opposed to that. I'm not completely opposed to signing a KJ Wright. I'm not completely opposed to signing a CJ Mosley and figuring out where all these guys are going to fit on the line and if one of them's better at middle and one of them's better at outside. You got 3 studs and an Anthony Barr too, the infamous guy that got hurdled by Josh Allen. But why not any of these guys? You have 3 studs, not to mention you brought back Zoe, and not to mention you can go probably get Thomas Davis on a cheap deal, on a cheap 1-year prove-it deal. That would be the best linebacking core in the NFL, by far. Even if you just added one of these guys, even if you just added a CJ Mosley, KJ Wright, or an Anthony Barr, those 3 alone, ridiculous. ridiculous. Plus, you have to think Milano's coming off of that excruciating the fracture that he had in his leg last year. So he looks like he's going to be good to go, but you never know. Could get to camp, something weird could happen, and you're always only one injury away from being extremely special in linebacker to having, backups play. And that's something last year where we struggled. When Milano was out, serviceable. When Tremaine Edmonds was out with a concussion, we were all right. But it wasn't like when the both of them were there, right? What do you guys think about that? There's other positions on defense we could talk about. We could talk about defensive line, but I just thought those three guys are on everybody's radar as far as the linebackers. They're on everybody's top 10 free agent hot lists. So I thought I'd throw those guys in there. Let me know what you guys think. I'll take some comments. Let me see. Jay says Edmonds hasn't been the best in coverage. It's true. So, I mean, yeah, he was kind of a liability in coverage, but again, he's a rookie. He was 19 when the season started, so he does have something to learn. But I do feel positive that the more the game slows down for him, the more he's going to be able to, be a little bit more beneficial in pass coverage. Again, maybe one reason why we can move him to outside linebacker. See ball, get ball, and then maybe you have someone else that you bring in, a veteran that's a Mike linebacker that can call the plays and can read coverage better, and is better in pass coverage and all that stuff. So just something to think about. Jameson Ryan 2204 says Milano's great in coverage. Milano is really good in coverage. He's highly, highly underrated in coverage. I believe he had 3 interceptions last year, and he missed games. So that's a good point. The moment, there's a free agent wide receiver called Adam Humphries from Tampa who actually had 816 yards last season. Adam Humphries is one of those under-the-radar guys. I do think he's a slot guy, so I don't know where the Bills feel that Zay Jones, if he's a slot guy or if he's just an anything kind of Swiss Army knife receiver where he can run any kind of route. I've been going back and forth if Zay Jones is a slot receiver or if he's an actual outside guy. So that's a good point, though. Adam Humphries is underrated. Let's see. This 25 DK. Oh, you guys are talking about the draft. We'll talk about the draft. That's coming. Don't worry, guys. We're going to talk about the draft. I just want to talk about free agency because free agency is happening. Hopefully in the morning, some stuff's going to be kicked around the league, and we're going to be able to see, hopefully, that the Bills have made some moves. But yeah, so that's the 4 positional players or positions that I wanted to talk about. I appreciate all 64 of you guys in here. I appreciate every single donation. As you guys know, the donations go right into the Buffalo Fanatics so that we can improve upon all this. Maybe I can get some of that money to get my squirrel or raccoon or hamster a little bit of a bigger wheel so we can get a little bit better picture quality. I do apologize for that. But I appreciate you guys. If you guys haven't been on the Buffalo Fanatics Facebook page, lots of content on there. I'm the operator of the Facebook page and of the Facebook group. You can follow me on Twitter at real_DM3. You can follow me on Instagram, real_DM3. Again, if you guys haven't liked the video, please do so. That way you guys will get notified. If you haven't subscribed, again, subscribe. That way you get notified whenever we go live, whenever we have pre-recorded stuff. We're probably going to have a whole bunch of stuff this week because free agency, Christmas in March is coming. I'll read a couple more comments. I don't want to take up too much more of you guys' time. I've been on here almost an hour already. Jameson Ryan, noon tomorrow. So tomorrow, 2 days before, the league year actually opens on Wednesday, which is when players can actually sign contracts Wednesday. You can actually start tampering with free agents tomorrow, which means you can actually contact them and make them offers. They can't officially sign them until Wednesday. So that's a good and a bad thing because you kind of, if you get a lot of the reports that come out about, you get a lot of the reports that come out, this person's offered that person, but it's not a done deal yet. Those are the ones you're like, please sign, please sign. They still have 2 days to get other offers. So that's what that is. So yeah, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. We're going to bring you guys as much updates as possible. I know I'm going to be hammering out updates. I'll take a couple more comments. Sean Munley, keep in mind Foster as an undrafted free agent on a short deal. Yeah, Foster had a solid season. Foster did have a solid season. I do agree with that. And he's undrafted, so he's on the cheap right now. If he has a big season, though, he's going to probably want to get paid for 2020. Let's see. You guys are starting to talk about the draft. Marshall Parker says Trent Brown at left tackle, Dawkins at right guard, Darrell Williams at right tackle, Wyatt Teller at left guard, and Morse at center. Perfect. Perfect. Absolutely love that. That Marshall Parker, shout out to you, man. That is perfect. I'd be ecstatic if that was the case. I'd be ecstatic. Well, that's it for me, guys. As you know, I am DM3, another good episode of Buffalo Fanatics TV. You can catch me here every Sunday night. You'll probably find me sprinkling some stuff throughout the week. Make sure you guys go in the links down below for all the social media output. You guys can go on Snapchat's on there, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Discord. Who am I forgetting? This channel right here is in there. The fan shop's in there. New merchandise is going to be coming out soon. It's going to be some hot shirts are going to be coming out. I'm not going to give too much about it, but that's happening. You guys love it. Thank you so much. I know you're not used to seeing my face. I'm going to be here as much as possible. And with that said, I'm out. Thanks, guys.